All right, good afternoon and welcome. I wanted to give you a presentation today. I thank everybody for attending. And if you have any questions, there'll be a Q&A session here at the end. But I just kind of want to give you a presentation on something that I think would be beneficial to us as a school and as a district. So I wanted to go through a couple of items with you today. So if you would kindly give me your attention, I'd appreciate that. And thank you for that in advance. So let's move forward here. Of course, we are covering a high school where we are college, career, and life ready. A little bit about our school. And most of you know already there's 195 students. We are rural with a transient subset. I believe you all would agree with that statement. We, of course, are an independent district. We're located in two cities. So we're actually located in Cave City and Horse Cave. Cave City is where our elementary is located. Horse Cave is where our middle and high school is located. And we are one of the most unique districts in the state. I believe there's one other district that sort of shares a similar setup arrangement, but that's it. And then, of course, we are aware that we are 90% free and reduced lunch. So that's a little bit about the background of our school, and everyone here is aware of that. Let's take a look at our mission and vision statements. And kind of refer to these as we go through, especially the mission here. The mission statement says we're committed to recognizing the importance of communication and encouraging dialogue among all constituencies to promote intellectual and social growth and development within the school community, to provide a safe, supportive setting so that students have equal opportunities to learn and succeed. While our vision statement says that we are prepared to motivate and prepare our students for a rapidly changing world by instilling in them critical thinking skills, a global perspective, and respect for core values of honesty, loyalty, perseverance, and compassion. Students will have success for today and be prepared for tomorrow. So these two things are just sort of our guiding perspectives, if you will, as we go through this, and it should guide us in all of our decisions that we make for the student body. I wanted to incorporate this slide. It's a flow chart, basically an organizational flow chart for how our school is laid out. Of course, up at the top here, you can see you've got the Board of Education and superintendent, and then the superintendent's basically over everything, right? We've got administrative staff, district operation, all three schools, and then district instruction. And then our Frisky up here, right? But I wanted to actually dive in a little deeper and just concentrate on the administrator portion, particularly our high school administrator. You'll notice that the middle school and high school have a very similar structure. We both share the same guidance counselor and would both share the same building. While the middle school is on the lower floor, the high school is in the upper floor, right? We share a lunchroom, and this is kind of common. I know a lot of places that share the same layout similarly. Taught at South Warren for a couple of years, and they both shared a lunchroom together. Had different guidance counselors, different sides of the building, but we're really in the same building, one left side, one right side. Over here at high school administration, you can tell that the high school principal is over the office staff, all of the certified teachers, any of the paraprofessionals in the building, the janitorial staff, and the food service staff. And so basically the high school principal would be overseeing all of the staff that already mentioned here. Okay, so let's dive a little deeper into the principal. Sort of the overarching goal of the principal is to provide leadership, direction, and coordination within the school building. The principals are responsible for detailed organization of the school, development of the instructional programs, assignment of duties to and the supervision of members of his staff, and the general operation of the school facility. So like janitorial staff, like we mentioned a while ago, would be included in that. So leadership and climate. I'm sort of dividing up the principal roles here as I dive into this and think about taking on this role myself. So this is to help me just as much to pinpoint out what goes on with you guys that you may not know all the roles that the principal takes on. And so this is an informative session here for you guys as well. So continually endeavor to improve the operating effectiveness for the school in which he's responsible. We keep informed of current practices and techniques relating to school programs, teaching and administration by attending meetings and professional development, and reading professional materials. Okay? And I know Mr. Crane does all of these things and does them well. When not involved in teaching duties, you devote as much time as possible to supervision of the school, observing methods of instruction in your classrooms with your teachers and paraprofessionals, and endeavoring to improve the efficiency of the staff and the school in general. We also keep the superintendent fully advised as to the conditions and needs of the school, and you suggest any appropriate changes in and ensure adherence to approved board policies, practices, procedures within the area of responsibility. And so, again, that's a lot to take on. We post all of that, under leadership and climate. Programming, right, is another responsibility. Coordinate and foster the development of programs within the school to best meet the needs and interests of the students. This includes the establishment, supervision, and evaluation of special education programs where a child needs one. And we do have a special needs coordinator in the district. The principal would report to them, and they would work in tandem together. Assist the teaching staff in the development, implementation, modifications, and selection of curriculum materials, and keep the superintendent informed as to any modifications in or substitutions of approved courses. An example here might be one of the things that I teach is the dual credit chemistry for the district, and so that would be a modification of an approved course, that the students are taking. And it could be, some of you guys are teaching some electives that he had to approve. So, Miss Pope teaches one, I know, is teaching the genetics course, which is sort of an optional course, an elective course. And so that got approved. And, a few of you other ones. Other teachers here are also teaching courses that are more of an elective type. Let's see, next there, develop and support a high degree of student morale. That's super important. We need high student morale through curricular and extracurricular activities and services, and coordinate the participation of all members of the teaching staff in the extracurricular program. And so this would be things like, you might even think like athletic director. You're going to sign up for working your gate, for working ball games, for also extracurricular could be like club sponsors. So you need a beta sponsor, you need a key club sponsor, those type of things. And so, it's the principal's job sort of spread that out amongst the staff, which of course here is a small staff because we're a small district, small school. So we have to take on a lot of different roles because of that. School organization and staffing. One of the things is to participate. We want to make sure that we're participating with the school division office in the selection of professional, clerical, and support staff. That's another responsibility of the principal. And we want to make sure that you're responsible for the preparation of timetables, class lists, and schedules. Of course, that would help fall under the guidance counselor. But of course, the guidance counselor is also underneath our umbrella. And supervision of schedules, be responsible for their functioning, right? So ultimately, it falls back on the principal, even though the guidance counselor would be the one responsible for making those. The other thing is hold regular staff meetings for the purpose of discussing educational administrative matters, which we have. Might be digital or virtual right now, but we do have those. And then also be responsible for proper registration and transfer of the students in the school and maintenance for up-to-date student cumulative records. Again, sort of falls under the guidance counselor, but ultimately is underneath the overarching umbrella of principal, right? Maintain or direct the maintenance of other records and files and the preparation and submission of reports. So there's a lot of reports out there that you need to file, also just to make sure that the appropriate maintenance of janitorial issues are taken care of. So it might be a restroom issue, it could be a water leak, all of those type things would be something that falls under the principal that needs to know that, right? And take care of that and in our case, report that to the assistant superintendent, Nathan, who would also be involved in handling some of those things. Establishment of appropriate procedures for the control of all school textbooks, materials, equipment. Everything here basically falls under the control of the principal. If it's in the building, he's responsible for it or she's responsible for it. Have authority over faculty of education students accepted at his or her school. So that's true. Maybe you've got some students coming in to do some student teaching. It's also the authority of the principal to allow that to occur. And the next one's important there. It says when there's no vice principal, you need to designate a member of the teaching staff of that school to assume the duties and responsibilities of the principal in the principal's absence. Now, most of the time, we have one of the other administrators in the district that would pop up and cover. So it might be that Mr. Faulkner, our superintendent, might come in and cover. It might be that Nathan, our assistant superintendent, might come in and cover, or that Amanda, Miss Abel Summers, might be in, and she's also the assistant superintendent. And so she could come in and cover, and we've seen this happen on a normal basis. Professional development. Huge impact here on the staff is promote professional and academic growth of his staff through staff meetings, in-service training, and personal contact. My take here on that is we really want to be servant leaders in the building. And so we best become servant leaders by building personal contact and personal morale with each of our employees, which each person here, and that means whether you're a teacher, whether you're a paraprofessional, your janitorial staff, your lunchroom staff, whatever it might be. We want to take an active role in the selection, planning, and implementation of those professional developments for the staff, and the cooperation with the superintendent's office and the Division of Professional Development Committee, right, to post all these things together. So, in other words, we want to put together a great plan for your growth, and we want to make sure that it's relevant to your all's growth and what you're doing, right? We've all sat through meetings before where it's kind of been redundant, or it's kind of like, okay, this is great if you're a regular teacher, but special needs, this is sort of not what I need right now. It's not going to be applicable to my classroom. And so that's something that I want to hold near and dear as I look at becoming a principal is make sure that your professional development applies to you and your situation. All right, that segues nicely into staff supervision and evaluation, right? So as building administrator, the principal is responsible for daily supervision of the school, its students, facilitators, professional and support staff, volunteers, and personnel from outside agencies. We see that every teacher shall be on duty with at least 10 minutes before the students arrive. We have a report time here of 7:45. The students don't actually start class till 8:25, and so we need to be here on time to make sure that things are running smoothly, things are safe for everyone involved. We also evaluate the effectiveness of each member of the staff in accordance with the establishment plan and shall forward written reports to superintendent. So this is, our evaluation that we undergo every 3 years. You have a large eval, and the other 2 years, as long as you're tenured, those are shorter evals. And then be responsible for development and conduct of an orientation program for new staff. And this is critical. New staff coming in need to be attached to a tenured staff member so that they have someone as a go-to person kind of help guide them along, and also just allow them to be responsible for development. We basically are hiring the new staff in, and that's a large financial commitment. So we want to make sure that we are growing you to do the best job that you can do, to be most effective that you can be. And we also have a new school or a new teacher cohort for this district that you'll be a part of and take place in reading several different books and literature and studies. And I think Miss Abel's in charge of that and guiding your growth there from an assistant superintendent side. And then also from a principal side, making sure that you're going to valuable trainings for your PDs. You have that attachment to a tenured professional that you can ask questions of, and have a bonded role there within the building, and have access to the principal as well. Student supervision. You need to establish a climate in which students can develop self-discipline. That's important. Self-discipline, right? A lot of you right now would probably say, "Oh, wait a minute, I don't know how many of our students can actually do that right now." That's part of the reason why part of the crux of what we're getting to today. Have disciplinary authority over each student while on the school premises, while going to and from school, riding on school buses, taking part in authorized school activities. Have authority over activities sponsored and conducted by the student organizations of the school, so his or her school, it should say, but it could be Beta Club, Key Club, sports, all those type of things, right? And be responsible for the provision of supervision of students and student activities in school buildings, on school grounds, loading, unloading buses, field trips, or other student activities sponsored by the school or sanctioned by the school. So again, all of the movement of students on day-to-day premises of the grounds, whether it be the buses, the field trips, wherever, all of that falls underneath the umbrella of the principal, keeping things safe and flowing smoothly. Here are some other ways. Work cooperatively with outside agencies, such as community health services, children's daycare, development services, all those type of things. Responsibility to refer to public health nurse any child who appears to be of a communicable disease. That's huge right now. So if we think for screening and we think they may be positive for COVID, that's a referral, right? You need to take care of that. Also be present with police officers as they interview pupils, and we've had that occur a couple times in our past. And see that no pupil is allowed to leave the school grounds on errands without permission. I've actually had a couple and assisted some principals in the past here, or we've had some students leave without permission. I remember I had to actually chase one through the back cornfield and run him down, and that was an interesting day, to say the least. Let's see what else. Familiarize himself with the general pupil progress and assist in its improvement, and coordinate and direct the evaluation of student progress and achievement, and the provision as far as regulatory reports to parents and board policy. Public relations, also a huge factor in today's society. Communication and PR, right? We need to maintain clear, transparent, concise communications with parents or guardians regarding the total school program, student achievement, placement, and behavior. We need to inform parents of the school activities through newsletters, information nights, parent-teacher conferences, and then also over to the side, maintain social media sites and other digital forms of communication, right? As we know, everything has transferred over to being virtual or digital nowadays, and so that's also something that's under our umbrella. General safety. Develop and foster a sense of pride and respect for school property, so the facility is an attractive place and safe place. Ensure that all reasonable precautions are taken to safeguard the health and general well-being of staff and pupils. And establish procedures whereby the access of visitors to the school can be monitored and controlled. And so this would be like, when they're coming in the school building, they have to be buzzed in. And there's a camera there, so we're seeing who all's at the door, who's coming in. Do we know them? What's their business here? They have to come in and sign in to the front office before they're allowed access to the rest of the building, and wear a name badge knowing that they've been checked into the building. And then organize and supervise patrols for applicable, make ready first aid supplies. Yes, right. And we have several stations in the building where we have first aid supplies, and also the electronic devices for people that may need them for heart attacks, those type of things that can stimulate the heart back into rhythm. Inspect school grounds and buildings to see that they're free from hazards, right? And so we're always thinking ahead, right? If we see something out, maybe a mop or a mop bucket, we're like, okay, that needs to be moved out of the way, right? We need to make sure that's a safe environment. In the event where damage is serious and appears to have been deliberate, it needs to be reported to the police department, possibly, and we've had that happen. We've had somebody break in before, and then also to the district office. It says division officers, say district. Report any accidents or injuries to students or staff, right, on the correct forms. We've had that happen, right, where student might be in PE class and reports an injury, or there be a cut, maybe some stitches, or maybe they're having asthma and an asthma attack and they need to go by ambulance. Those type of things have occurred here. Conduct fire drills on a regular basis. We do that, and make sure that the exit signs and all that are placed in each room, and we go through this to make sure the students know what to do in the event of emergency. And not just fire drills, but also intruder drills, those type of things we practice on a regular basis. General cleanliness and maintenance of the school. Be responsible for direction of the work janitorial staff. Those two things kind of go along together. Work with the assistant superintendent, that's Nathan, in planning capital projects and the routine maintenance of the building. And the principal shall control use to be made of the school buildings. So how are they used? Are they used in accordance with board policy? And so some of the things we have had happen before in the 14 years I've been here is you've had, funerals for staff and students. Both of those have occurred here. And then you've had, some other things. Of course, one of the funner, lighter things was we've had pro wrestling occur, and then those funds go back in to help the school as well. Site base, of course, we know the principal's in charge of site base. It's importance of quality policies and bylaws. I want to make sure that our agendas that we put together are working well for us, and build consensus and coalitions for action. That's important. I want to make sure that whatever it is we're developing as a committee, that we have that consensus and coalitions for action. Budgeting protocols that focus on student achievement. And we want a high-functioning team that's dedicated to making decisions on behalf of our students. Again, everything that we do should align back to that mission of making sure that our... Sorry about that. Let's see if I can take care of that. All right. Should align back to making sure that everything happens for students' goods and that for students' behalfs. We want to make wise decisions that are directed to the students' benefit. All right, let's talk about some data now. Let's dig in a little bit. Of course, we know we're grades 9 through 12. We have roughly 195 students that will ebb and flow a little bit. Our student to teacher ratio is 14:1. Our graduation rate, let's pause here for a minute and notice that it's less than 90%, right? That we're in the bottom 50% of the state on that one. So that's something to take note of. Our overall school rank is also in the bottom 50%. Our math and reading is also in the bottom 50%. And our diversity score, we're actually in the top half for our diversity in the building, okay? So some things there that we notice, we know are troubling, and we want to continue to develop ways to pull out of these and grow towards the top half instead of that bottom half. Our free and reduced lunch, I pulled data. This is 2018 on the chart. Of course, you can tell the state average Gets up, a little bit above 50%. But if you notice us, we're up here closer to 80%. And now at 2020, we're more of like 90%, right? Which is incredible. And I pulled these from some of our school documents. But what we've noticed when I was going through some of that documentation was that, again, free and reduced lunch, approximately 88%, so close to 90%, which we noticed the state average was just a little above 50%, so we were definitely higher there. The other thing here is notice we have a very low percentage of parents and families that participate in any way. So that might be parent-teacher conferences, open houses, or other educational opportunities for family outreach, family engagement. We have a very low percentage, right? So that's something that I think I want I want you to hang on to that. Okay, hang on to that for a moment. In addition, we've had some large staff turnover in the past. 56% of our certified teachers are new. That's huge as well. And then notice down here also just we've had 4 principals over the past 6 years, right? And I think all of these are factors that play into our statistics that we just looked at. So keep those under your hat. 4 principals in 6 years, large staff turnover, and then also we have a very low percentage of parents or families that participate in anything that we do outside of our normal school day. Some other things here I wanted to pull out, right? We do have strong community support, but 87.9% of our students are economically disadvantaged. So I would dare say that this correlates to our almost 90% free and reduced lunch, right? And we have this increasingly transient population due to the number of hotels that we, and just temporary residents that are around in the area. And we also notice that the bulk of our families are employed in industry or related fields, or they're unemployed. Okay, so that's also something to take note of. Just pulling up some behavior data here as well. You can notice out here that our numbers, looks like tardies, major tardies, and major defiance are our numbers. Now, here's something that I find incredible. We have a population of 195 students. Out of that 195 students, this is how many offensive we had last year. 784, right? 784. Now, some of those are, kind of minor things. Dress code violation, inappropriate language, those type of things. But then you also get down in here and notice that some of these are huge. So defiance, insubordination, noncompliance, that's huge. Our tardies, which was cut off of here, is also huge. It's relatively the same number or bigger. So to have a population of 195 and then have almost 800 offenses or violations, that's huge. And then to have, over 100 of those be the defiance and subordination, that makes for a very difficult scenario, especially when we don't really have a good alternative type school to place those students in, right? We don't really have an alternative school. We have ISS, but we really don't have an alternative school situation. We really don't have anywhere to put EBD students. And so what we tend to do is we deal with them in the short term, and then we return them back to the classroom. And of course, if you're EBD, you're going to eventually create another issue for one of our teachers. And so I believe that's where a lot of these numbers kind of come from and dictate what I'm wanting to propose today. It really does. So the proposal is I would like to hire a positive behavior coach, sometimes called a PASS coach, sometimes called a behavior specialist. I prefer to think of it, though, as a positive approach to student success coach, right? Now, normally, this would be something that would be followed up through and coordinated with the assistant principal. However, given our FTEs for our small district and small size, we just don't have the funding to support an assistant principal. Now, what I am asking for here is that a PASS coach would, of course, cost less than an assistant principal, and it could also be a cost that could be shared between the middle and the high school. Now, what would that look like? Well, that could look like part of the day the PASS coach can be at the high school. The other part of the day they could be at the middle school, or it could bounce back and forth in any method that we deemed, viable. But that's something I'm proposing. I really think that giving what a PASS coach does, we are definitely, if we go back and we look, we're at a high free and reduced lunch rate. We have a lot of socioeconomic students that are in the category there that need that positive influence. A lot of them, if you dig into the data, you notice that they're single parent households. So some of those single parents are going to work and then coming home and maybe going to bed because they're working in the factory. So maybe they're working a 10 or 12-hour day. And so a lot of these students, particularly by the time they get to us in high school, are raising themselves in a lot of ways. And so they aren't getting some of that positive influence about how to correctly handle issues as they arise. And so a good PASS coach could come alongside and really help some of these students navigate more successfully and provide and build tools for them to help navigate through some of life's difficulties. And again, remember, we're wanting them to be not only successful at college and career, but also life back if we go back and look at our mission. So let's talk about what a PASS coach is, right? A PASS coach is basically a framework for managing behavior of students identified as emotionally or behaviorally disordered or displaying high-risk behaviors. I think you all would agree we have a large population of at least high-risk behaviors, and we have probably higher than most emotionally and behaviorally disordered. It's a non-level individualized approach, and we base this on teaching behavioral expectations primarily in mainstream inclusive settings. So we're not really trying to call them out necessarily. But we also are going to utilize daily behavior evaluation software and weekly behavioral analysis to guide interventions using an FBA approach. Now, we already use PBIS. This just meshes well and holds hands with the PBIS that's already instituted. We can take those higher tier students and pass them on to the PASS coach. It works really, really well. The other thing I noticed in our data as I pervaded, of course, it would be confidential, so I can't share it in this slideshow, but a lot of our offenders were multiple offenders. I think one student had defiance and noncompliance over 20 times, right? And to keep throwing them back into the classroom without offering other supports or something else is kind of insane, right? We know they're going to be a repeat offender. So they need those other supports and other ideas to help them be able to navigate life successfully. All right. So focus of PASS, right? Again, positive approach to student success, academic and behavioral success. So not only do we want them to be academically successful, and that may just be that they're better than where they're at. So instead of making D's and F's, maybe they're making C's, right? But it could also, we definitely want to see behavior success increase. I think it's important to note that they do this through dignity and respect. We're also collaborative, so we're coming together with this. We will be able to help identify some of those students that might need some of that. And then, all of us will go through a little bit of this training, kind of like we do with the PBIS, and be able to help them to develop, this right here is important, adaptive and socially acceptable behaviors, right? We can all say that we know a student or can name a student right now that does not have very good adaptive skills or socially acceptable behaviors. And so what we want to do, again, is focus on that life aspect and get them ready for life, not only college and career, but also life, right? Back to our mission statement, and see them succeed, right? The student is provided then a reasonable chance to succeed in whatever that next step after high school is, and to succeed, more importantly, while they're in high school, right? So not only just become that repeat offender all the time, but they have a greater chance of seeing success. So again, just look at some of our top offending behaviors. Last year, non-pandemic year, it's important to note that 700 plus total write-ups. A lot of those were disrespect, use of profanity towards peer or staff, use of profanity towards someone else, disruptive behaviors, disrespect, lying, all of those type things. And then, of course, the other one was attendance. Tardiness, skipping class, skipping detention, leaving the building without permission. All of these things are behaviors that we would like to see impacted and changed for the better. So, I take a look at the Pass Coach and then also this whole child initiative. We want to make sure that our students are healthy, they enter school healthy, and learn about practices of how to continue to be healthier. And in our case, that's emotionally and behaviorally. Safe, I think, our students are safe in our environment, but we also want to make sure they're safe at home, right? So we can engage in having that conversation. We want to make sure that they are actively engaged in learning and connected to the school and broader community. I think a lot of us too can say that we know those students that have behavior issues are not engaged in learning. And of course, that large percentage goes back and ties in directly to what we noticed in our data. We're in the bottom 50% of math and reading, right? Why? Well, I'm going to suggest probably because they're not actively engaged, right? And why are they not actively engaged? Well, it goes back to their behaviors, right? We spend so much time trying to correct behaviors that we have less time to actively engage them as learners. Also, if we're spending a lot of our time on 3 or 4 students trying to get them engaged and learning, then we're taking time away from our other students, right? And so that's important to note. Supported, we want to make sure they have access to personalized learning, and supported by qualified caring adults. Now, they all have a certified teacher. There's no doubt in that. We're all here because we are certified, right? We're if you're in a classroom. If not, you may be a paraprofessional. You're certified and qualified in those areas, or janitorial or lunch, but we're all important. We all come together. But it's important, are we really supporting them behaviorally? Is being punitive always the best option? Are we giving them supports in ways and allowing them, the knowledge of different techniques to support their behaviors or to change or alter their behaviors, right? And I would say right now, no, we are not, okay? We also want to make sure each student is challenged academically and prepared for success in college or further, or trade school, whatever that might be. Again, are we spending so much time addressing some of the behaviors of our students that we're holding back some of our students that could do higher level work, right? And I would dare say that's also a yes in what I've noted. So, these are areas that I want to see us move ahead in and be more successful in. And I really think that this proposal of a Pass Coach, since we can't get an assistant principal, a Pass Coach is a plausible, feasible way to move ourselves forward, right? And also, make them more employable in a global environment, right? And again, whether that's at a factory, whether that's at college, whether it's at a trade school or military, right? It all plays hand in hand. All right, and these are just some scholarly thoughts that I researched and thought I would share with you guys. This first one here is schools and other educational institutions should cultivate attitudes, cultures, and skills needed within creative and collaborative learning environments. Let's ask ourselves that question. Let's put the mirror up to our face and say, are we cultivating attitudes, cultures, and skills? Right? Are we? And I'm just going to let you think about that, right? And if we're not, we should be in our classrooms. I think some of us do great jobs at this, but are we really helping to change some of those behaviors by assigning ISS or by giving them some sort of punitive measure? Next one. Yet for our educational system and communities to develop whole children, again, whole children, behaviors included, we must act, not talk. Act in fundamentally different, not marginally different ways, and act as schools, communities, and nations to ensure a deservedly brighter future for our children. Okay? We have to act. If we want to develop the whole child, we have to act as a whole. So as the school, right? As a community, as a nation. Okay? But it has to start somewhere. And we may not be able to change our community overnight. We can't change our school overnight. But what we can is we can start with one student, and we can start with a program, and we can start with being servants and service these students out of love, compassion, and help to provide them the ways that they need to be more adaptable and more successful in life. Psychological needs, safety, belonging, autonomy, competence are satisfied, then they are more likely to become engaged in school, act in accordance with school goals and values, and develop social skills and understanding to contribute to the school and community. Is that not powerful, right? Physiological and psychological needs being met, right? Being met. And that just speaks volumes, right? I know we all have heard the saying, if they come hungry, a hungry student can't learn. And we feed them, right? Free and reduced lunch. They get breakfast. They get second breakfast. We feed them. We try to take care of their bellies. But are we feeding them behaviorally, right? Are we feeding them behaviorally? I believe that's something to note. We want to make sure that these systems are sustained in a sustainable way. And note that programmatic change tends to last only as long as staffing and resources, including key personnel or funding, which undermines its effectiveness. So, yes, we need to note the change, but it can't just be about the program. It has to be about the staffing and the resources and addition here of a pass coach, and make sure that all of these things have what they need in order to be successful, right? The time, the money, the resources, all of those things. We want this to be something that's sustainable, something that will push us from the bottom 50% to that top 50%, right? And I'm an out-of-the-box thinker. So I know a lot of this is out of the box for some of you guys, but sometimes in order to achieve something different, you have to do something different, right? You cannot keep on with the status quo. Parent and community involvement activities associated with student learning have a greater effect on academic achievement than general forms of involvement, such as volunteering, event attendance. So them parents coming to a ball game, right? While that's important, and that's something that's key, but it does not necessarily say that you're going to have a great impact on student learning, right? So we want to get them here. We want to get them involved. We want to get them doing things as a community. And I think that's a next step. Right now, we're kind of at the first step of getting a pass coach, changing some of these students' behaviors, getting them the information and support that they need in order to become more successful. Then we can look at, all right, how do we engage and help the community at that point? It can be done. The item I'm going to leave you with right now is we are much better together, right? This is one of my favorite quotes from Mother Teresa. It says, none of us, including me, ever do great things, but we can all do small things with great love, and together we can do something wonderful. So we don't have all the answers. I don't portray to bring you all the answers in this proposal today. But what I do note is that it starts with small stuff, and changing one student's behavior Might be a small thing, but to me it's a large thing because it's a snowball effect. That student's behavior changes can change another student's behavior, can change another student's behavior. It's like dominoes. But they can't change if we don't teach them. And teaching them is more than just having them come into the classroom and say, okay, stay seated, be quiet, pay attention, right? Because for some of these kids, that's not going to happen. Some of these kids have other things going on. Some of these kids have home life drama. Some of these kids have sibling drama, right? And so what we need to do is give them and provide them tools in their tool belt to change their behaviors, right? To support new behaviors. Teach them how to handle things in better fashions. And we can only do that as a team, right? We can hire a PASS coach, but we also need this in our classrooms, right? But I think a PASS coach is a powerful way to light the fire and make this go forward so that all the pieces of the puzzles come together and we can make this place a even better place than what it is, right? And we can grow our mission, grow our vision, and grow our percentages, both in graduation rates, in our math and reading scores, all of these things. And the cool thing about a small school is changes can happen quicker, right, than at a large school. So that excites me. So let's be excited, folks. If you've got questions or comments, I'm around for Q&A. Just thank you for your attention today. You have done wonderfully, and thank you so much.